In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a dashboard and a visualization using the camera tool in Excel. I downloaded this data from the CDC website about the state and the number of cases reported. I've posted this data to my courses as well as done an instructional video and have the links to where you can download this data yourself. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this sheet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all the territories that are in the Pacific Ocean. I'm just going to leave the states and Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia so that I can create a map chart. And because I'm a former bank auditor, I always hate destroying my data. So to copy the sheet, I'm going to hold down the regular mouse button over the sheet name, then hold down the Control key. Notice the plus sign in the little document, and then just drag my mouse to the right, and now I have a copy of the sheet. So first I'm going to delete American Samoa. I'm just going to select the row and then right click and delete, and I'm just going to go down. This isn't a very long list. The next one I'm going to delete is Guam. I see Illinois, Idaho, those are all states. Marshall Islands, you're going to go. Delete that. Micronesia is also going to be deleted. Scrolling down the list, Northern Marianas, that's going to be deleted. Palau, delete. I'm going to keep Puerto Rico because that is very close to where the United States is, but with only 50 cases, I'm going to delete the Virgin Islands. They're not a state, and it looks like the rest of them are states. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a map chart. So I'm going to select the range A1 down to A53, then hold down my Control key, scroll up using the scroll bar, and then select the range C1, the exact same range down to C53. Now I'm going to click Insert, Maps, and Filled Map. So I have this very nice map. I'm going to try to make it as big as I can. You'll see why when I use the camera tool. And I actually have 4 different chart styles. I actually like the second one a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm on the Design tab, and on the left hand side I'm going to click Add Chart Element, Data Labels, and Show. So now I can see the number of cases in each one of my states, and for my chart title I will change that to Cases Reported by State. Now, a good visualization has maybe 2 or 3 different charts or tables or graphs or visualizations or things like that, and basically those belong together. They kind of tell a story. So for this one, what I'm going to do is, taking a look at the data, I'm looking at the range, and I see that there are several different ranges, and I also see the community transmission. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pie chart of how many states are in each range and how many states are in each community transmission. So in order to do that, I'm going to select the range B1 all the way down to B53. I'm going to go home and hit the copy icon. Now I'm going to scroll way past my data, so I'm going to click cell H1 that's randomly. I just want to skip a couple of columns to make sure that I don't remove the duplicates from my data just from that one column. Now I'm going to click paste. Now, before I click away, making sure that that range is still selected, I'm going to click my Data tab, and in the Data Tools group, I'm going to click the button that says Remove Duplicates. You may be able to see it. I'm on my laptop, which has a smaller monitor than my desktop does. So I'm going to click Remove Duplicates, and we can see here that it selected only column H, and I'm going to click OK, and notice that I only have 4 different ranges. So now I'm just going to make that a little wider, and in cell I1 I'm just going to type number of states, and I'm just going to do a COUNTIF. So I'm going to type in cell I2 equals COUNTIF and open the parentheses. The range I'm going to count is column B, so I'm going to click in cell B2, and I'm going to use my little trick, Control Shift down. You could just select the range B2 to B53. Now before clicking away, I'm going to hit that F4 key, or for my Mac users, Command T. I'm going to hit my F4 key, and I'm going to change that to an absolute range reference, $B, $2, $B, $53. That way I only have to put in one formula. I can count it down for all the ranges. Now I'm going to type a comma, and I'm going to click on that first range. Since I'm in cell I2, I'm going to click on the range for H2, close up the parentheses, and hit enter. Now I can click on cell I2, double click the fill handle, or just pull it down. It's only 4 more cells. And now I have a count of all of the states in each range. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pie chart. So I'm going to select the range H1 down to I5. I'm going to click Insert, and in the Charts group I'm going to click the pie or donut chart, and I'm just going to choose that first 2D pie. I don't like the name Number of States, so I'm going to change the title to Range by Number of States. And now I'm just going to play with that chart a little bit. Now I'm going to make sure that the background of the chart is selected. I'm going to make sure that I'm on the Design tab under the Chart Tools group. And I'm going to, on the left hand side in the Chart Layouts group, I'm going to click the down arrow for Add Chart Element, Data Labels, and Data Callout. Now I'd like my data callout to have both the numbers and the percentage, so I'm going to go back to Add Chart Element, Data Labels, and more data label options. The box comes up on the right hand side, and notice I could take away the category name if I wanted. I would like to have it here, but I can also add the value so it shows the number of states and the percentage. So I'm going to close this, and now because my data labels has the category names, I really don't need the legend, so I'm going to go back to Add Chart Element, Legend, and then choose None. So now I'm just going to make my chart a little bit bigger, and I think it looks very nice. And now I'm going to do the same exact thing for community transmission. So I'm going to select the range D1 all the way down to D53, hit the copy icon, go a couple of columns to the right. So I'm going to click cell L1, and I'm going to click Paste. Now, without clicking away, I'm going to go to Data, and in the Data Tools group, I'm going to click the button for Remove Duplicates. Because I have columns in between, it's only going to choose column L, and I'm going to click OK. And actually this time I only have 3 categories for my community transmission. So now I'm going to do the same thing in M1. I'm just going to type number of states and then use a COUNTIF. So equals COUNTIF, open the parentheses. The range is going to be cell D2 down to D53. And once again, before I click away or do anything else, I'm going to hit my F4 key on the keyboard, or for you Mac users, Command T. That way I don't have to do it for the D2 and the D53 separately. It does it for the entire range. Then I type a comma, and because my formula is in M2, I'm going to click cell L2 and close up the parentheses and hit enter. Now I can click cell M2 and just drag that fill handle down, and I've been able to count all of the different states. Now I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did before. I'm going to create a pie chart with this new data. So I'm going to select the range L1 down to M4, click Insert, and then go to my pie chart and the 2D pie, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did before. Transmission by number of states, and do the same thing that I did before, add the data labels and take out the legend. So making sure that I'm on that design tab. You won't see it unless the chart has the handles around it, so you may have to click the background of the chart. On the design tab on the left hand side, add chart element, data labels, and data callout. Now add chart element, data labels, more data label options, and I'm going to tell it to have the value as well as the percentage and the category name. Notice there's a lot of things that I can do in that label, and I'm going to close that up. And now once again with the label, I do not need the legend. So one last time, add chart element, legend, and none. And I'm going to make this chart a little bit bigger as well. Try to make it about the same size as the other one, but that's not really important when we go and do our dashboard. Now I'm just going to do 2 quick pivot tables, then show you how to add the camera and use the camera tool to create a dashboard. In this case, we're going to create 2 dashboards. So I'm going to go back to my data. I'm actually going to try to move these charts out of the way a little bit. Whoop, I did not want to do that. Grab my charts and move them out of the way a little bit, because I'm going to go back to my original data. I'm going to click any cell within the data. It doesn't matter which one, any state name, any range, any community transmission, any cases reported, and I'm going to click Insert, and then in the charts I'm going to click Pivot Chart. You know me, I always like my pivot tables and pivot charts on a new worksheet, and I'm going to click OK. This one is very easy because we don't really have a lot of categories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag jurisdiction, which is the state, into the axis categories, and then I'm going to drag cases reported into the sigma values area. Now that is a very, very, very busy chart. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the table that's on the left, starting in column A, and where it says row labels, I'm going to click the down arrow, and notice I can do lots of things, sort, more sort options, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to value filters, and notice I have a lot of options. I'm going to go to the bottom one that says top 10. So now my top 10 filter for jurisdiction. I'm going to show the top 10 items by sum of cases reported, which is the only thing that we can do. So I'm going to click OK. And notice how my chart changes. I want to get rid of the legend. I can just click it and just hit the delete key, or I can go back to that design tab, add chart element, legend, and none. Now I'm going to change the title, top 10 cases by state. I think my chart might look better sorted numerically as opposed to alphabetically by state. I think my chart might look better swooping up as opposed to swooping down. So I'm going to click any cell in column B, any of the cases reported in column B, and in the Home tab, I'm going to go to the editing group on the right, sort and filter, and sort smallest to largest, and notice how my chart changes to reflect this. One last thing, I'm going to click the background on my chart area. I'm going to go to that design tab, add chart element, data labels, outside end. So we can actually see how many cases there are in each state. And once again, I'm just going to make this chart a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the bottom 10 states. So I'm going to change the name of sheet 2 to top 10. And now we'll do exactly the same thing for the bottom 10 cases by state. So I'm going to go back to my second sheet, the one that doesn't include Guam and the Northern Marianas. And I'm going to click any cell within the original list, it doesn't matter which one. Insert. In the charts group, pivot chart. And you know me, I always like a new worksheet for my pivot tables and my pivot charts. So I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did before. I'm going to drag jurisdiction into the axis. I'm going to drag cases reported into the sigma values area. Now in the table on the left hand side where it says row labels, I'm going to click the down arrow. I'm going to go to my value filters, and I'm going to click top 10. Now this time in my top 10 filter, instead of showing the top 10, I'm going to tell it to show the bottom 10 items by sum of cases reported. So I click OK, and notice it has a very different scale. And once again, I'm going to sort this so it kind of swoops up like the other chart did. So I'm going to click any cell in column B, any one of the cases reported, making sure that I'm on the Home tab, in the editing group, sort and filter, and sort smallest to largest. So notice how it does it not only for the pivot table, but also for the pivot chart as well. So I'm going to change the title of my chart, so I'm going to click the background area of the chart to make it active. And where it says total, I'm going to change the title, to bottom 10 cases by state. Now I'm going to do what I did before. So clicking the background, I'm going to go to that design tab, add chart element, data labels, outside end, and add chart element, legend, none. Now we have another Very nice chart. And I'm going to call this sheet bottom 10. Now the next thing that we're going to do is create our dashboards. So I'm going to add 2 sheets. So I'm going to go down to the right where there's the little plus to the right of the sheet names. I'm going to click it first and then second. Sheet 4 I will call dashboard 1. And sheet 5 I will call dashboard 2. So now to create my dashboards, what I'm going to have to do is add the camera tool. So to add the camera tool, I'm going to click File and then Options. You Mac users will probably have to Google, how do I add the camera tool in Excel? I'm going to click the Quick Access toolbar on the left-hand side in my Excel options, and where it says Choose Commands From, instead of Popular Commands, I'm just going to choose All Commands. There are a large number of commands. So I'm just going to scroll down until I see Camera. There it is. And once I see Camera, all I'm going to do is click the Add button. So now it's on my Quick Access toolbar. And I am going to click OK. So now first I'm going to go to my sheet that has my map chart and my 2 pie charts. And before I use the camera, I'm going to drag them away from my data. And you're going to see why I'm going to do this in a moment. So I'm going to drag my transmission by number of states to an area where there's no data around it. I'm going to drag my range by number of states out to an area where there's kind of nothing around it. It doesn't really matter if they're the same size, because once we use the camera, we can adjust the size. And finally, I'm going to scroll back and try to find my map chart. I think it was down below. There it is. Click it and then try to move it, grabbing the edge. So get over the edge where I have the 4-headed arrow, and then basically try to move it out below where those other 2 charts are. Now the next thing that I'm going to do, and you're going to see why I'm going to do it, is I'm going to color all of these background cells white. Otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to see these cells in the background, because we can't use the camera to copy the chart itself. We have to kind of copy the cells around it. So I'm going to select the columns T all the way out past the last chart, maybe to AO, and making sure that I'm on the Home tab. I'm going to click the Paint Can, and I'm going to make sure I'm not going to choose No Fill, but I'm going to choose White. So notice when I click away, because I colored them white, you can't see the... So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to select the range around my map chart. So I'm going to scroll down and try to select a range that kind of includes my entire map chart, but as small a range as possible. Now notice on my Quick Action toolbar, I have the camera icon. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click the camera icon, and now I'm going to click the sheet that says Dashboard 1, and I'm just going to draw out my map chart. And don't worry, it can always be resized, but it always likes to be resized by the corners so you don't lose that kind of aspect ratio that you had originally. Now I'm going to show you in a minute how this is actually an interactive picture. Now I'm going to go back to the sheet that I was working on before, and I'm going to use the camera to copy the two pie charts that I created. So I'm going to select the range, kind of around the first pie chart, as close to it as possible, but kind of around it. Hopefully not including the other one. It looks like I will have to drag this one out a little bit. But I'm going to select the range around the first pie chart. Click that camera icon. Click Dashboard 1. And kind of draw it out to the right of cases reported by state. And I'll try to make that one a little bit smaller so I can fit the two pie charts, one on top of each other, next to the map chart. Now I'm going to click my other pie chart, select my other pie chart, and use the camera. So I'm going to select the range around my second pie chart. Including the entire pie chart. Click the camera icon on my quick access toolbar. Go back to Dashboard 1 and draw that out kind of below the first pie chart. So now I'm going to zoom out a little bit and try to arrange this a little bit so they're side by side. But as you can see, I have now created a nice little visualization over here, which actually kind of tells a story. Now, the interactive part of this. Let's say you're looking at this and saying, gee, I wish I had put the commas in the numbers. So I'm going to go back to my sheet that has the data that the map chart is based on. I'm going to scroll back to my data, and I'm going to choose the entire column C, and in the number group I'm going to hit the comma icon and right click once to decrease the decimal, and then twice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll to the right, and I thought I was going to have to refresh the data, but notice how my map chart already reflects this. And when I go to Dashboard 1 using the camera tool, you can see that the commas are now in my numbers, and it is much easier to read. So if I wanted to make more states readable, if I wanted to make my chart on the other sheet a different color or whatever I wanted to do, that would be visible in my camera tool. Now the last thing that I would like you to do, I'm not going to do it right now, but I would like you to insert a text box and explain the story that this visualization tells us. So what are we trying to tell by this? So I could talk about how we can see the states that have the highest and lowest transmissions, and we can see which states have widespread transmissions and the range of the states. So in here I could just talk a little bit about the visualizations that I have prepared. Now I'm going to quickly move on to Dashboard 2 because this is a very long video. So now going to Dashboard 2, I'm going to do Dashboard 2 for my top 10 and my bottom 10. So I'm going to go to my top 10. This time I'm not going to bother. I already showed you how to make it white behind. This time you'll see why. We're going to see some of these grid lines in our camera. But I'm going to select the range around my chart so that my chart is within the range selected. And now I'm going to click the camera tool, go to Dashboard 2, and just draw it out. And notice, as you can see, I've also got a picture of the grid lines, which is why I colored the last one white. Now I'm going to go to my bottom 10, move it around a little bit, select the range around the chart so that the entire chart is within the selected range. Click my camera tool on the quick access toolbar, go to dashboard 2, and draw this out to the right. And now I could talk about how the top 10 cases by state and the bottom 10 cases by state, and compare and contrast, maybe by geographic area or population density, but this is my second visualization. So this is basically what I wanted you to do, along with, as I said, inserting the text box and just writing a little story about what you see over here.